This is Winchester Varmint HE 22 long rifle versus CCI ammo. Accuracy and velocity comparison. Before we get into the video, let's take a moment to talk about a special delivery I got while I was editing this video. I got a knock on the door and found that a friend of the channel had sent 10% FBI grade ballistic gel for us to use for ammo tests. From what I understand, this should be reusable. It even came with a tray or whatever. So we should be able to do a bunch of tests with this, hopefully. Let us know in the comments what ammo in 9mm, 380, 22 that either we've tested so far or have yet to test that you would like to see us do in our first video against this ballistics gel. We're definitely looking forward to it. This video was filmed at the beautiful Banner Range, and we again had fantastic weather today. Though luckily the state fair is going on, so we had the range practically to ourselves. It was awesome. And now, let's hit the range. Looking at our target, you'll have noticed that that first round was with Thunderbolt ammo. That's what the Golden Boy that I'm using that the crew let me borrow, that's what that rifle was zeroed with. So that's what we used to just set a baseline on what our accuracy potential was. Now we see that for a horizontal spread, I get a very good group. Vertical spread, I get quite a bit of vertical spread, which we'll come back to here in a moment. Now on our right hand target for our mare's leg, we see what I'm going to call a very good group, though it's a foot low. And there's a reason for that too, which we're going to come back to here in just a moment. The front sight on the Henry Golden Boy that we're shooting here today is the iron sight that has the brass bead on it. Some people think that brass bead makes it easier to see. I am not one of those people. I really struggle to get a clear picture of the front sight on this rifle, which helps explain why horizontally my spread is very minimal, but vertically I get more vertical spread than I would like, and that's on me because I cannot get a clear picture of this front sight as I would like. The rear sight on this rifle is a semi-adjustable buckhorn sight. I think it's a pretty good sight. With a slightly different front sight, it would probably be even better for me. From what I can tell, this one is set, the owner set it up so that at using their Thunderbolt ammo, they like it's about 1 inch high at 25 yards, which you'll see in that target. The Henry mare's leg that we're shooting today is also in 22 long rifle. Where I live, it is legally considered a pistol, though today we shoot it more like a rifle since we're at the rifle bay. You may hear me occasionally in this video call it a rifle. That's on accident. It's actually legally considered a pistol. When I shoot this at the pistol bay, I can't shoulder it or emulate shoulder it like I do in this video. I have to shoot it more like a pistol as seen in this video that we did in the past. Now all the targets we're shooting here today, they are at 7 yards. And in case you're wondering, no, I don't normally shoot my mare's leg this way. However, I'm at a local range run by the state, and I'm shooting in one of their handgun bays, and they wouldn't let me shoot my mare's leg. I had to shoot it like a pistol, we'll say. If I was in a rifle bay, they wouldn't have had me problem shooting it. The front sight on the Henry mare's leg in your standard Henry lever action rimfire rifles is a flat black blade. It does come with a sun hood. If you're not a fan of that sun hood, you can slide it off there. On my 22 Magnum version, I took the sun shade off. On the mare's leg, I leave it on. The rear sight, I'm going to say, is a more plain, just a no frills standard iron sight, though it does adjust in an almost identical fashion to the semi-adjustable buckhorn sight on the Golden Boy. Now, as you saw in our video clip from our past mare's leg video, when we shoot at the pistol bay, we have to hold it a little differently. So for this video, I had to adjust the elevation on the rear semi-adjustable buckhorn sight for my more rifle style approach that we used in this video, which you're going to see I adjust that in the MiniMag portion here. Now that we have the sight on the mare's leg adjusted a little, let's reshoot the MiniMag ammo and see if our groups remain consistent with our previous sample set. Hopefully this time with the mare's leg we get a similar group, just in a better position, closer to the bullseye. On the bottom left-hand shot seeker target, we have the Henry Golden Boy grouping. It's actually grouping, as you can see, a bit above the target. In my opinion, that MiniMag out of the Golden Boy sighted in with the Thunderbolts, the MiniMags are about an inch higher than the Thunderbolts out of this rifle. Though left to right, I think it is very similar in that regard in terms of the shot placement. And as we got the mare's leg kind of sighted in for this rifle style shooting using MiniMag, I'm going to say we have a comparable group to what we achieved with a Thunderbolt. It's a little lower of the target than I would like, though I think that's good enough for what we're doing here today. I don't want to spend all day fine-tuning a firearm that I can't shoot in this manner all the time. Never mind that I'm never going to have the same sight picture with it all the time with how it's designed. So we're going to call it good enough for me anyway. It's not a target rifle. It's a fun movie shoot rifle. We're going to keep it that way. Now let's move on to what some people might consider the tedious chronograph portion of the MiniMag session. Our shot placement still looks where it was before, so let's move on to crunching the numbers for the MiniMag ammunition. The CCI MiniMag out of the Golden Boy, we had an average velocity of 1,147 feet per second. Highest velocity was 1,176 feet per second. Lowest velocity is 1,126 feet per second. Difference between the highest and lowest velocity was 50 feet per second. Our standard of deviation was 20.9. We took 5 shots because we used a little more ammo than anticipated sighting in the mare's leg that we didn't know we needed to sight in. For the mare's leg with the CCI MiniMag, we had an average velocity of 1,185 feet per second. Highest velocity was 1,205 feet per second. Lowest velocity is 1,156 feet per second. Extreme spread, or difference between the highest and lowest velocity, was 49 feet per second. Standard of deviation was 18.2, and again we took 5 shots. Now we see an interesting trend here starting right off the bat, and that is that with the mare's leg, which has a shorter barrel than our Golden Boy, we're seeing an higher average velocity, average highest velocity, higher lowest velocity. Very interesting. And do we see this elsewhere? Yes, we do, which you'll see here later. And I'm going to say right off the bat, we are going to revisit this test here probably next weekend, adding a couple other firearms to the mix, like say a 1022 and my Smith & Wesson M&P 1522 pistol, to see how those firearms and their barrel lengths and actions and rifling difference or whatever contribute to potential velocity differences there. For comparison against the MiniMags, let's see how the CCI Standard Velocity stacks up against that. Looking at our target for the standard velocity CCI ammunition, the bottom left-hand target is the Golden Boy rifle, and we see, I think, point of impact fairly similar to what we have with the Thunderbolt. Debatable if we have a loss of precision there. Some of that's going to be on the shooter, some of that's going to be on the ammo. When we move to the mare's leg here, I think it's hard to fairly judge the accuracy and precision based on my target here today. Some of that is the variable sight picture and the nature of shooting the mare's leg that we're shooting it here today. Could the ammo play a part in that? Probably. I think the equation is probably more heavily slanted in the side of the shooter being more responsible for that on this target here today than, say, the ammo. I'm not prepared to say the ammo is responsible for that here. But let's crunch the numbers, because I think we again got some very interesting numbers when we compare the velocity out of our mare's leg and its barrel compared to our Golden Boy and its quite a bit longer barrel. For the CCI Standard Velocity out of the Golden Boy on the left, we have an average velocity of 998 feet per second. Highest velocity was 1,014 feet per second. Lowest velocity is 990 feet per second. Difference between the highest and lowest velocity was 25 feet per second. Standard of deviation was 9 out of 10 shots. Now for the mare's leg on the right, we have an average velocity of 1,031 feet per second. Highest velocity 1,045 feet per second. Lowest velocity 1,003 feet per second. Difference between the highest and lowest velocity was 41 feet per second. Standard deviation is 12.2. We fired 10 shots. Now of note is, for whatever reason, I can only get 9 rounds in the magazine tube of my mare's leg, even though it says I should be able to get 10. So I fired a 10th round off camera, which is why you see 10 on the number here versus 9 in the footage. Now again, in the interesting category, we see that the mare's leg, we have a higher average velocity, higher highest velocity, higher lowest velocity across the board compared to the Golden Boy. Now, are we running into an instance here where the barrel on the Golden Boy is so long that for these ammunitions, the powder is being completely burned and now there's drag being introduced, slowing the round down? I don't know. That's one of the reasons why we want to do some additional testing next weekend with some firearms with some additional barrel length to try to judge if that's what's happening here today. Now let's move on to the Varmint HE by Winchester and see what numbers we get out of that ammunition. We're going to come back to discussing the target results for this ammunition after the next ammunition we fire, because we fired an additional round off camera which is not captured in this picture, and I think it's easier to discuss that ammo when we take that second round into account. Let's go on to the velocity though, because we got some numbers there that are usable on this round. For the Winchester Varmint HE out of the Henry Golden Boy, on the left, we have an average velocity of 1,415 feet per second. Highest velocity was 1,446 feet per second. Lowest velocity is 1,361 feet per second. Difference between the highest and lowest velocity was 84 feet per second. Standard of deviation was 25.3, and that's across 10 shots that we fired for that sample size. Moving to our mare's leg, we have an average velocity of 1,382 feet per second. Highest velocity was 1,418 feet per second. Lowest velocity 1,317 feet per second. Extreme spread of 101 feet per second. Standard of deviation of 36.3, and again sample size of 10 shots. Now this is the first time across the ammo we fired today that we actually see the longer barreled Golden Boy have a higher velocity on the average, the highest, and the lowest sample compared to our shorter barreled mare's leg, which seems to make sense finally. To finish the day now, let's move on to two ammunitions that I found when 22 finally started coming into stock a couple months ago. The CCI Short Target and Varmint hollow point ammunition. I don't have any auto loaders that this ammunition functions in as far as rifles, but these Henry lever actions it definitely functions in. So let's get some velocity and some accuracy samples on it. Let's examine our target, and we're going to start with the top two targets, which are the Winchester Varmint HE targets, where we fired an additional round of 10 shots each off camera. As you can see, our point of impact for the Golden Boy was above where we had the camera centered for the last round. I think our horizontal spread is fairly tight, and our vertical spread is very similar to what we see with the Thunderbolt, such that I think our issue here is just we see a point of impact shift that was higher than anticipated with the higher velocity ammunition. I tested the Thunderbolt velocity off camera, and it's approximately, out of the Henry, about 250 feet per second slower on average compared to this Winchester Varmint HE. Moving to our mare's leg target in the top right, we have a group that it's on target-ish. I think it's still a little low to the right, like in general we see with how I sighted in the mare's leg at the beginning of the video. But at least we have a sample size that says that the ammo is it's okay out of the mare's leg. It's probably not my favorite ammo out of it, but it works. Now, one mentionable as far as it works is you would have noticed when we shot the Winchester ammo the first time that I had some feed issues out of both firearms. Definitely had feed issues in the second round, so I don't think either firearm really likes it in terms of the functioning, my two anyway, feeding this ammunition. Moving to our CCI Short Target ammunition, out of the Golden Boy in the bottom left, I think we have a very good group. Certainly way better than the crew anticipated last weekend when I told them I was going to be testing these shorts out of the Henry. Out of my mare's leg on the bottom right, I think we have a group that if all the shots were on the target, it would probably be a decent group. But again, we see it trending low right, like how my mare's leg happens to be sighted in, unfortunately. Happens. Movie guns. They're not always on like they show you. At least Sam Jackson's is, anyway. I'm not Sam Jackson. For the CCI 22 Short Target ammunition, out of our Henry Golden Boy, we had an average velocity of 1,045 feet per second. Our highest velocity was 1,079 feet per second. Lowest velocity is 990 feet per second. The difference between the highest and lowest velocity is 89 feet per second, with a standard deviation of 23.2 across a sample size of 10 shots. Moving to our mare's leg, again we see an instance where we have a higher average velocity of 1,061 feet per second, a highest velocity of 1,091 feet per second, a slightly lower lowest velocity at 985 feet per second. Our extreme spread, or difference between the highest and lowest round, is 106 feet per second, with a standard deviation of 32.4 across a sample size of 10 shots. Let's see how that compares now versus the CCI 22 Short Varmint hollow point ammunition. For our CCI Short Varmint hollow point ammunition, on the middle row of targets, on the left-hand middle, we have our Golden Boy results. I think what we see here is, again, a fairly good group that I'm going to say is comparable to the group that we got with the CCI MiniMag. Again, we see the same vertical shift that I attribute to poor picking up of the bead sight by my eye, with a fairly good on the narrow side of the horizontal shift or spread. Moving to our mare's leg target, which would be on the middle right hand side, I'm again going to say that's a group that's fairly similar to what our MiniMag group looked like out of the mare's leg. A little low right of the bullseye, fairly consistent with where we sighted in the rifle pistol with the MiniMags here today. Not the tightest group ever, but I think it's good enough for what I call a movie fun gun. Now let's crunch the numbers for the CCI Hollow Point 22 Short Varmint ammunition. Out of our Golden Boy on the left-hand side, we had an average velocity of 1,073 feet per second. Highest velocity was 1,108 feet per second. Lowest velocity is 1,012 feet per second. Difference between the highest and lowest velocity was 96 feet per second, with a standard deviation of 27.1 across a 10-shot sample size. Out of the mare's leg, we had an average velocity of 1,087 feet per second, with the highest velocity 1,158 feet per second, lowest velocity 1,025 feet per second. Difference between the highest and lowest velocity was 133 feet per second, with a standard deviation of 37.1, again across 10 shots. Now again, we see a case where out of the mare's leg, we had a higher average, higher highest, and higher lowest velocity, which was again curious. And you might have noticed in a few of the recent clips we had, say, some range officers standing behind us watching because they didn't believe it either, just like me. Funny how that happens. Good times. Now, while the crew thought this CCI short ammo might be anemic and have poor performance, which I thought it would actually do okay, we did see here how it did on targets and how the velocity came up on our chronograph. I think the real test, though, is let's find out how it does against our steel target critter cores here at Banner Range. These targets are set up between 25 and 50 yards, and let's see how we can do out of our Henry rifle with 20 or 22 shots. I can't remember. Mine holds 22. Manual says 21. I might have loaded 20 for monk's sake, but here we go. Let's see how it does on the critter cores compared to the mare's leg loaded with the CCI 22 short target ammunition. Good times. While I was chronographing the 22 short hollow point ammunition, one of the range officers walked up to me and mentioned they've always had fantastic results with this ammo when they use it for hunting white or cottontails. Yeah, that makes way more sense than whitetail when hunting cottontails. Let's see how it does for me on the critter cores here today, because I'm hoping it does as good for me as it does for them against whitetails. I mean cottontails. Well, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day.